Hey everyone, welcome to my library. My name is Melissa, and today I'm coming to you with my first ever mid-year book freakout tag. It feels so surreal to film this tag. I love watching this tag specifically because it is one of those classic booktube tags that wraps up the first half of the year. And I've only had this channel since October of last year, and so I haven't been able to do this tag obviously yet since it was past June when I started it. So anyways, I was super excited to finally be able to film this. I have all the books laid out right here, and so I'm just hoping that I literally had to just scour my shelves for all these books. There's like 20 or so, because there's actually quite a few questions. There's 14 questions. So anyways, let's just get started. The dogs have not been walked yet today because it is so hot outside in Phoenix. If you guys didn't know, it is a major heat wave, excessive heat warning. It's 120 degrees outside. So unless we get up at 5 a.m. and take them on a walk, they don't get one until later in the evening. So they are pretty riled up right now. So I'm hoping, especially with my whole no complex editing, that they'll be good. We'll see. Anyways, okay, let's get started on the first question. The first question is the best book you've read in 2021. So the best book so far, it was a debate between two books, but the best book I have read this year has been From Sand and Ash by Amy Harmon, which comes as no surprise if you guys have watched my channel for any length of time, because my favorite book of last year, of 2020, was What the Wind Knows by Amy Harmon. And so I was highly anticipating reading another book of hers, and this book sounded right up my alley because it is a World War II forbidden lovers trope. So basically, it's set in Italy in 1943, and the two main characters in this book is Eva and Angelo. And Eva is Jewish and Angelo is Catholic, and they grow up together. They are childhood best friends. But then obviously through being in completely different family households and in completely different religions, Angelo ends up going and he ends up being a priest. And so there's that's kind of standing in their way. And then additionally, it being set in 1943, Eva is obviously being hunted, and she is very much in danger. And so what ends up happening, which was actually part of real history, was the Catholic Church ends up hiding a bunch of Jews in their huge cathedrals and in their society systems. And so Angelo ends up specifically helping Eva, and a romance blooms from there. And wow, I love Amy Harmon's writing. I had a ton of people join me to buddy read this book. In February, I think, is when we buddy read it, maybe March. I can't remember. But yeah, everyone loved this book. It was so well done. The story was so compelling. It was so easy to read. It was just the perfect historical fiction book for me, and I just loved it. So I love the romance in this as well. I wouldn't call this a romance book because it doesn't hit those specific beats, but I just loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I would give it 6 stars or 10 stars if I could. But yeah, so this is my best book of 2021 so far. But who knows what the future holds for the last 6 months of the year. Hey, calm down. We need to calm down for the video, okay? Okay. Here, I'll show Butter, or she's kind of being shown. I'm balancing my phone on my laptop, so anyways. Okay, so yeah, here's the best book of 2021. Let's move on. The best sequel I've read so far in 2021. So I treated this kind of loosely. I just decided sequel being a continuation of a series, and that is actually the most recent book I have read, and it is The Fiery Cross by Diana Gabaldon. This is number 5 in the Outlander series, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars, not quite 5, just because of some weird pacing issues with the story. I mean, it's huge. It's almost 1,000 pages, 990 to be specific. But yeah, I just finished this 2 days ago, and I just loved it. I love all of these books. Specifically with this book, the dynamic between Jamie and Roger was everything to me. They come from different times, different backgrounds. Jamie's a very like go hunt and very like quote unquote manly man, and then Roger is a scholarly man, and he has no, I mean, he was raised in the 70s, and so he has no familiarity with how the 1700s worked and how men were expected to provide for their families then. And so anyways, it's him and Jamie coming to terms with just how different they are as people. Hey, come here. Hey, we gotta calm down. We gotta calm down for my video, okay? Okay. So anyways, so yeah, I just absolutely love this story. There were some really intense scenes in here that always come with reading Outlander books, and I really loved also the romances between the two main couples that are shown in this story that just kept going. I just love how it kind of shows, you know, post falling in love, just how a real marriage works and how to keep the flame alive and everything like that too. So can't wait to read the next one in the series. I just ordered it on Amazon and it came yesterday, so I have it ready for me. Hopefully I can get to it this year. I really want to. I know number 9 or 10 comes out in the fall, and so it's going to be this huge event basically. I'm sure a ton of people are just going to drop everything to read that book. I obviously will not be, because I definitely am not going to get there before that book is released. But yeah, so this is the best sequel I have read so far in 2021. Okay, so the next prompt is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. So I actually have 2 for this because these are both super highly anticipated books for me. One is one I owned and has already been released and has been out for a while, and that is The Songbook of Benny Lament by Amy Harmon. So yeah, if you can't tell, I'm loving Amy Harmon right now. But this book specifically, it was released in March, and it is the story of Benny Lament and Esther Mine, and it's set in New York, 1960. And these two people come from very different backgrounds. He has deep ties in the mob, and he's a Bronx piano man. And then Esther Mine is a black singer, and so it's also an interracial couple as well. And anyways, he ends up hearing her voice and being completely inspired and writes a song for her, from what I understand, and then a romance blooms from there. And so there's a lot of things writing against them at this time, which is so unfortunate. But it sounds like it's going to be an amazing story. And 1960s New York has such a vibe. I know actually Amy Harmon is very musical, and there's super prevalent music themes from Sand & Ash as well. And so she ended up creating a Spotify playlist for this book specifically with tons of 1960s classic songs. So I definitely am going to be playing that as I read. I love getting like a complete environment, if that makes sense, when I'm reading. So yeah, but yeah, this is one of the most highly anticipated new releases for me for the year that I haven't read yet but want to. And then the other one I ordered today because it was on sale on Prime Day. Yeah, it's Prime Day today. It's Monday, June 21st, 20th. Oh my gosh, guys, I don't know dates. But anyways, so that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. So or not Beach Read, what am I talking about? People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I read Beach Read, which was her huge blast out book that everyone loved last year, and I really enjoyed it too. It is it's not necessarily a beach read, I would say. It kind of has some darker elements to it, but it is the central focus is a couple, and that one's a second chance romance from what I remember. But this one is inspired, kind of, from what I understand, by When Harry Met Sally. It gives those vibes. That is one of my favorite movies. Nora Ephron is my favorite director of all time. You've Got Mail is my favorite movie of all time. And anyway, so anything that is reminiscent of that kind of rom-com vibe, I am all about. And that's what I understand this book to be. I actually have purposely avoided or tried to avoid reviews of this book or people talking about this book. I know it's been really highly talked about all over booktube, but if someone holds up the book and starts talking, I just fast forward because I don't want to know. So yeah, don't spoil me in the comments, but I am super highly anticipating it. It sounds like a great vacation-y summer read from what I know, but obviously titles and looks can be deceiving especially for Emily Henry's books, so we'll see. So yeah, that's the other one. Okay, the next prompt is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I am not, I think you guys know this, but I am not a huge new release reader. I read a ton of backlist titles. I love old school stuff. And so I kind of was like racking my brain trying to come up with, or like looking through my want to read list on Goodreads, trying to figure out if there's any books that haven't been released yet that I'm excited about. And actually there is one, and I don't know if a lot of people are talking about it, but it was an ad I got on Instagram and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I realized it wasn't even released yet. It's released in October. And that is The Woman at the Front by Licia Cornwall. So if you can't tell, this is it's actually a World War I historical fiction book. And it centers around a woman who ends up being a doctor on the front at a field hospital. And I think it's set in Italy. And anyways, it sounds amazing. I love Doctor Hero or heroines, and it's set in a World War I historical fiction setting, which is one of my favorite things too. I love the cover. I think it looks amazing, and yeah, the story sounds good. It sounds like there's going to be some sort of romance happening too at the center of it, which is another thing I really love in my historical fiction, is if there's a really strong romantic element to it. So anyways, all of those things add up being to a great book I'm excited about buying, hopefully. But yeah, I'm not a huge new release person. I love watching people's new release radar videos, but yeah, it's not really my forte. So yeah, but that's one. Okay, so the next prompt is biggest disappointment. So this is a book I had on the top 12 books I wanted to read this year, and I had 2 copies of it at one point, and I started reading it and DNF'd really quickly. I mean, I think I DNF'd after 50 pages. I gave it a solid 50 pages, and I've already got rid of both copies, so I don't own it, but I'll just show a picture. That is Bright Captivity by Eugenia Price. Yeah. Super disappointed. This is a author that I was highly anticipating. I actually bought a whole lot of her books on eBay, if you guys don't remember. So I have other books of hers to read and hopefully enjoy. If I end up trying another of her books and don't like them, I'm just gonna unhaul all of the rest of them because, you know, it's not worth it to me. But anyways, yeah, this book was highly anticipated. It's set in the War of 1812. Eugenia Price is known for her Southern set books, and that is another like niche thing that I love, is like Southern old school historical fiction. And so that's what this was. It was the story of a girl who is coming out in society, and then she ends up falling in love with a British soldier that's currently being he like what ends up happening in the first 50 pages is they end up taking hostage this whole group of people that are having this party on this island. And so he's part of taking that. He's a lieutenant, and so he's part of taking it hostage. And then it is just a huge, what I hated about it was how fast it's insta-love. It's just, they see each other across the room, and then suddenly they're in love, and suddenly they're trying to figure out how to get married. And she's like not even, I think she was like 17. I don't know. I just had some issues with it. And so I DNF'd, but I still am going to give Eugenia Price another try. I'm thinking I'm going to try Savannah next, which is the first book in her Savannah quartet. And hopefully like that one better. We'll see. The next prompt is biggest surprise. And that was actually a book I just got physically in the mail. And that is Lovely War by Julie Berry. Oh my goodness. So I listened to this on audio. Highly recommend the audiobook if you haven't read this yet. It was multicast. And basically this book is the story of two different couples in World War II. And it's actually narrated by Greek gods and goddesses. And so it's a really interesting mixture of the two. And I love that about it. It was so unique in its storytelling. And I just absolutely loved learning all these Greek gods and goddesses. I don't have a huge, what is the word? I'm not rhetoric, but background in Greek mythology. So I was looking up a lot of these Greek gods and goddesses. And so anyways, I just love this. I'm actually hosting a real life book club. And they're all coming to my house tomorrow to discuss this book. This was the book I showed up at book club a month ago. I was the newest edition. And anyways, they asked me what kind of books I like to read, and if there was one I would love for everyone to read and pick for the next month's book. And I was so honored. I was like, oh, I was not meaning to like come in here and barge and, pick the next book, but they were like, yes, please pick the next book. I picked this one. So yeah, everyone's gonna come over and we're gonna discuss this book. So I had to order it physically so I could discuss it with them, because I know there's like discussion questions in the back of the book. But anyways, I'm happy to own this as well. It's a beautiful book. The reason why it was the biggest surprise for me is I actually, whenever this came out 3 years ago or something, when was this published? Let me look it up just so I know. Copyright 2019. So 2 years ago. I remember going into Barnes & Noble and seeing this in hardcover on the new releases table. And I was so attracted to the cover, and I was like, wow, like this looks amazing. But then I went on Goodreads obviously and saw that it was YA. And I'm not a YA reader. I do not like YA. And so maybe that's too general of a statement. And that's my problem. But I ended up putting it down and not reading it or picking it up because I was like, oh, I don't like YA. Okay, I'm good. But then with all of the hype and everyone telling me to read it, I finally ended up picking it up and was so blown away, so surprised by how much I loved it, and have no idea why it's YA. I still don't understand why it's YA, except for maybe that one of the couples is relatively young when they meet. I still don't get it. I think it's like a marketing scheme, honestly, but so yeah, that's why this was my biggest surprise. Okay. So the next prompt, book's falling over. The next prompt is my favorite new author of 2021. And that was so easy for me to pick because I've read multiple of her books this year. And if you guys can't guess by now, it is Laverle Spencer. So this was the first book the first 5-star book I had in 2021 was Morning Glory. I'll show the step back because I love it. It's so family themed and just adorable. But yeah, so I read this back in January for the historical romance readathon and just absolutely loved it. It was so good. It's actually set in the 1940s, so it's kind of a unique historical romance. But it was just amazing. I loved the writing. I was so just blown away by how well written it was. And so even after this first book, I was like, okay, I want all the Laverle Spencers. So I bought an eBay lot online, and I've been reading her. We started a Laverle Spencer read along group on Discord. So if you guys are interested and you want to read more of her works with us, please let me know and I can send you a link. But yeah, so we read The Endearment next, and then what else have we read? Oh yeah, The Fulfillment. I love The Fulfillment too. But anyways, we're just going along chronologically in her publication order now, and just reading all of her books. So it's been a great time so far. I can't wait to read Hummingbird next. That's my next kind of pick. So yeah, that is my new favorite author of 2021. New to me. Okay. So the next prompt is your newest fictional crush. So that was easy. This was actually the other book. I was debating about which book is my best book of 2021, but this is the other one, is Heart of the West by Penelope Williamson. Oh my goodness, I love this book so much. 5 stars all the way. So I'm showing the step back because Zach right here, he is my newest fictional crush. So this is the story of a woman named Clementine who in a whirlwind situation ends up being married to Gus, Gus McQueen, who is actually this man right here. And he ends up taking her to his Montana ranch. And he's this cowboy through and through. And anyways, when she gets there, she ends up meeting Zach, who is Gus's brother. And so basically, it's kind of the story of how Penelope ends up falling in love with Zach, and it's kind of obviously a forbidden romance. And Zach doesn't want to step on Gus's toes, and so there's just this huge, I don't know, just a ton of tension. And then also it is just this epic story. It's really long, actually. I don't know how many pages, 700 something pages. So it is a sprawling Western romance epic. Like, I loved it. There's so many other characters involved in the story as well. It's not just these 3. It's a ton of other characters in town as well. Different romances. And it was an amazing Western. It's a Western romance, and I loved it. And Zach is so awesome. He's a cowboy as well, and he's kind of the bad boy, if you can't tell by his expression here. Yes, he is kind of the bad boy, and he's the brother who was kind of rejected by, they have this past of their dad being very cruel to them, and their dad also is kind of very proud of Gus, and he rejects Zach, and it's very sad, and that's kind of an explanation for why he's kind of the bad boy, always trying to prove himself. And I just loved it. Oh my gosh, I wish this was a movie so bad. It would be so good. But yeah, okay, so there's this one. Okay, so then the next prompt is newest favorite character, and this one is actually Levin from Anna Karenina. I read Anna Karenina a couple months ago, maybe a month ago. Time is all relative, guys. But Levin was the character that kept me going in this book. He was kind of the one character that you really root for in the story, the one likable character in the story. And I found, as I've discussed this with other people, that is true with everyone else's reactions to this book as well, that Levin was the one character that seemed really real and really a good person. And in this story, he has a major conversion, a religious conversion. He's going through a lot of inner turmoil, trying to decide what he believes in. And anyways, it was just such a good character arc. This is actually, Levin is a reflection of Leo Tolstoy himself. There's been a lot of literary analysis on him, and anyways, it was just really interesting to see how Leo Tolstoy also was wrestling with his spirituality, and so that's kind of how Levin came to be. And so anyways, I just really enjoyed reading about Levin in Anna Karenina, and he is my newest favorite character of 2021. Okay, so then the next one is a book that made you cry. I don't cry, guys. I don't cry at all. I can't even think of the last time I've cried in a movie. I don't know why. I'm just heartless. But anyways, so I have actually only cried in one book this whole year. And so that book is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. So yes, I cried in this book towards the beginning when he's stuck in prison, and he ends up meeting the priest and developing a really deep and lasting bond with him. And I ended up crying over what ends up happening to the priest, and just the whole storyline behind that friendship, that really ends up being more than just a friendship. It ends up being a father-son type of relationship. It just was so touching, and I actually really did cry in it. And so it was moving. It really was just moving for me. So yeah, I really loved that part of this book. Okay, so the next prompt, we have 4 more prompts, guys, 4 more prompts. The next prompt is a book that made you cry, or no, a book that made you happy. And that one was The Endearment by Laurel Spencer. Yeah, this book I read over a weekend with a couple of other lovely ladies, like I said in that Discord group, and it was just such a good story. It made me so happy. Obviously, with it being a romance, there's an HEA that made me so giddy inside. I loved this romance between Carl and what's her name? Anna. Yeah. It was just so tender and so real and so slow, and I don't know, there was major miscommunication trope in here. That's all this story is just miscommunication. But the way Carl cares for Anna, and how he just has an undying love for her, just so precious, and it just made me so happy. So yeah, I had to pick this one. Okay, so then the next book is the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. And I couldn't just pick one. With all the book hauls I've had, can you blame me? One is a new buy, and one of them is a vintage buy. So the new buy is the edition, oh my gosh, I literally just forgot the edition, the Seasons edition, duh. The Seasons edition of Pride and Prejudice. Oh my gosh, this is the most expensive book I bought this year too. I'm glad that isn't a category, because that would just kind of be depressing. But yeah, this book is just so beautiful. I have it displayed on my shelves, like front and center, because I'm so happy to own it. Yeah, it has this beautiful white laser cut slip cover, and The book itself is this beautiful, I'll take it off, this beautiful teal blue, and then the inside, we have blue sprayed edges as well, and then the inside has just amazing detail to it. It's just so pretty, and it's limited edition, so this one is number 6,185 of 10,000. Yeah, I'm just so proud to own this book. It's just a beautiful book, and I really do love the cover too. Something about a couple being front and center on the cover, like the characters themselves, that I just love in a book. And so when I saw that this was like a hearth scene, it obviously is happening when they're dancing, kind of like a ball scene, and them just like looking at each other. I just think this is so beautiful. So this is definitely number one. And then the other book that is so beautiful that I've also recently featured, that's a vintage book, is this book, Wuthering Heights. And this is Heathcliff just in agony on the tree. I love this cover. I just think it is so cool. And then the other thing I love about this edition, this is 1943 Random House. But the other lovely thing I think is so cool about these editions is it is illustrated throughout with these engravings. They're actually like wood engravings, and it's engravings by Fritz Eichenberg. But anyways, I just think it's so cool that this whole story is illustrated. I have another version that is Jane Eyre, but I picked this one because I love the cover so much. The cover of the Jane Eyre one is kind of weird. But yeah, so here's another example of a illustration, so engraving. But anyways, I just think this book is so pretty and I'm so happy to own it. So this is the other one. Okay, so there's two more prompts. The next one is what you need to read by the end of the year. So I did make a list of my top 12 books I need to read, right? And there are 3 left. I am very motivated to want to check all of the books off on that list, and so I need to read these 3 by the end of the year. One of them I featured on my summer list, my summer reading, and that is The Wheel of Fortune by Susan Howich. This is a very thick book. I've talked about it a lot, but it's the story of a sprawling mansion called Oxmoon and the family that owns that estate and all the happenings. And it's kind of gothic from what I understand. There's a kind of forbidden romance at the center as well. And it's set in the early 1900s. So it's going to be a sprawling family saga, and I'm very excited about it. The other 2 are books I need to read that I don't know when I'm going to get to them, but I don't have any set plans yet. We'll see. One of them I should have read in April, or was it May? It might have been May. Some people ended up reading it, and I feel so bad I didn't get to it, guys. I was just not in the mood for it, and I really wanted to get into some mood reading recently, and so I haven't picked it up. I apologize if you have read it and you were on my Discord group and wanting to discuss it. But anyways, that is The Winter Sea by Susanna Kearsley. This is a historical fiction book, and it's multiple timelines from what I understand, but it's set in the 1700s, the Jacobite Rebellion, and then also in present day, a woman trying to write about that time and about an ancestor that is in that time. So yeah, that's all I really know. And I'm excited about it. I really am. I haven't been in the mood to read it yet, but I'll get there. So the final book I need to read, and me and Tara are gonna read this as a buddy read at some point. We're still trying to like finalize that. We tried to read it earlier in the year, but it just kind of fell through. We both had to rain check. Anyways, that is The Cardinal Sins by Andrew M. Greeley. This cover, oh my goodness, if you can't tell, it is a priest romance, essentially. It's the story of 2 priests that are best friends, and they both end up falling for women and what happens and the repercussions of that. It says An American Thornbirds, A Contemporary Keys of the Kingdom, a multi-generational novel you will treasure. You guys know I love Thornbirds, and that's why I really want to read this book. So it needs to happen. We need to figure it out, Tara. But yeah, so this is the other book. So those are the 3 books I need to read by the end of the year. So then the last prompt, you guys, 35 minutes later, oh my gosh. The last prompt is your favorite book to movie adaptation, which has been, I mean, movies in general have just been in a huge slump recently because of COVID. Not a lot of movies coming out. But a book I read last year in December in anticipation for the movie coming out, which I saw in January, so I'm counting it, is News of the World. This is the book. It's by Paulette Giles. I loved this book. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. It is a short but really poignant Western, and it is all about a man who is a Civil War veteran. He's older. He doesn't have any family, but his whole role is reading news to all the illiterate people that can't read in Texas. And so anyways, what ends up happening is he is given a ward who is German, and she was grown up actually as a Native American. And when they discover her lineage, they take her, capture her back, and charge him with getting her back to her family. And so he ends up teaching her English, and it's just their bond, their story. It was so well done. I loved it. I just loved it. And I knew I wanted to read it because the movie was just recently done, and it stars Tom Hanks. And Tom Hanks, guys, You've Got Mail is my favorite movie. Tom Hanks is my favorite celebrity ever. I love him. I have such hard eyes for him, you guys. I don't know what it is, but that's an embarrassing fact. So yeah, I knew he was going to be starring in this film, so I wanted to read it. And he did such an amazing job. He was so good at playing the character of, oh my gosh, I just forgot his name. Captain Jefferson Kyle Kidd. That's right. Yeah, he did such a good job. And the actress that played the German girl was also really, really good. She did an amazing job too. So I think it was her debut as well. But yeah, I highly recommend that movie. I loved it. But I also have to give a major shout out to a book to movie adaptation I'm looking forward to. It is happening, you guys. It is finally happening. And that is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Yeah, so I read this book 2 years ago, and it had the sticker on it, says soon to be a major motion picture. That took forever. I hate when they say that and then it takes so long. That happened with Bridgerton too. But anyways, yeah, this is coming in December, the movie. And it's going to feature 2 real life sisters, Dakota and Ellie, I think is her name, Fanning. Like the 2 girl sisters who we all know from other movies are going to be stars as the sisters in this book. So I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be amazing. I hope it's going to be amazing. I usually really enjoy historical fiction movies. Like I just think, or just historical movies in general. Yeah, they're always pretty well done. So anyways, yeah, I just had to give a little shout out to that to get you guys excited as well. If you haven't read this book, pick it up before December so you can go and watch the movie and hopefully enjoy it as well. So yeah, guys, oh my gosh, longest video ever. But that is my mid-year book freakout tag for 2021. Please let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are in any of these books I've mentioned, or if you're excited to read any of the books I've shown, or your best book of 2021 so far. I want to know. But with all that being said, please like and comment. I reply to every single comment. And please subscribe if you want to see more from me. And I will see you guys in another video. Bye!